All right, what's up, YouTube? So today we got is does the Bible talk about race? This is a very interesting question, and I would like to get straight into the video.
And like what I
And this video is obviously from Gideon the Goat. I'm very happy with what Gideon's doing. Honestly, I'm not surprised that he's Christian, cause I mean, like he's always shown very high signs of spirituality in his life.
said, it's a modern construct, and people try to read this modern ideology of slavery. Black and white people do it. They try to read that back into the Bible, and it's not there.
Hmm.
It's just simply not there. And because of this, a lot of people on both sides were able to justify a lot of the heinous and horrible things
Turn off captions. Okay.
they said about another race or did to another race. They use that to try to justify this stuff. And it still goes on today. It still goes on to this very day. But you can ask one more question, Magic Man, that we got to move on.
Okay, one more question then. Um, can you explain races, like human races, as in like Hispanic, Asian,
Personally,
African?
I have not seen um any discrimination in the Bible. They said that there are slave Bibles, and like a lot of woke people, spiritual people, or people who are just against religion in general, they'll try to say like, oh, Christianity is used as a tool of slavery, but and it was used as a tool of like separating the whites from the blacks.
uh,
I've heard a lot.
African, all that, like Hispanic, Asian, African, all that stuff. Is there really
You mean like why they look different?
not why they look
Or
different,
what?
but they're not really. They may be physically different, but in a sense, like we're all still human.
Well, race is a man made construct, first of all. There's only one race according to the Bible, and that's the human race. Back
For
then,
sure.
though, to the closest thing you had to somebody using the word race, they used tribe. You follow what I'm saying? And
So, oh, really? So, I thought he was gonna say like the only race is like your spirit, like, but nah, 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 nah.
tribe using the word race. Back then, though, to the closest thing you had to somebody using the word race, they used tribe. You follow what I'm saying? And tribes did not necessarily have any physical characteristics to distinguish one from another. Like you could be a part of two guys from two different tribes, and they look exactly alike.
For sure.
You follow what I'm saying? So they did it
Yes,
most
sir.
like tribe, but what we call today race, where we use physical characteristics to distinguish and say, okay, that's their race. That's a man-made construct.
When did that come into play in the Bible? Like is there a place in the Bible where you could see where Asian people like is there anything like that you could see in the Bible?
Yes, like with the Hebrews, this is how the Hebrews looked at it. If you want to call it a race thing, the Hebrews was like, okay, we're the Israelites, everybody else a Gentile. That's how they
Okay, yeah, that's what I was just about to ask. Like, where is this? Because like people identify as Egyptians, Israelites. Like, I didn't know that there was just only one race. So, are these different tribes? We'll see if we can get that
separated
answer.
it out. And then when they start having beef among themselves, then they start making separation. Remember, here's an easy way for y'all to remember one thing about race, as far as like from a biblical standpoint of view. Race is all about separation into groups
For sure.
in the Bible. It has nothing to necessarily do with physical appearances. That came later on in mankind's history.
That's what I was talking about.
Back then, it
Okay.
was
Physical.
all about that.
That's what I like when did it start becoming physical?
Yeah,
Like
that's what I was wondering. So like, and everybody in the Bible just looked the exact same. I didn't know that. Wow. I'm gonna have to like look that up because that is insane. So he's basically saying that there was only one race and they separated each other from standpoints of tribes. Really? Is that really in the Bible? I gotta read my Bible more.
Like literally, like when did we start looking different than one
Exactly.
another?
Like when did we start looking different? Didn't angels come down and have sex with humans, and then that's how white people were created in the Bible? I don't know. I think that happened, and then those angels got sent to hell. Something about that. I have a lot of questions.
According to the
Oh, you
Bible.
talking about that concept? I thought you meant how they were dealing with each other. The Bible don't say. The Bible doesn't say when we started doing that. It has no clear action, no
Really?
clear distinction of when we could actually identify somebody by how they look and say, okay, they're from somewhere else. It doesn't tell you at what point in history that became a thing. It just doesn't.
Cause like people like they'll say like Japhet is white people, Ham is like most people in Africa. So I was just wondering like did during the flood did Noah's sons all look different and it kind of went like that? Is it actually like what science says? Is it like actually because of the geographical location?
For
Like
sure.
some
The
people.
geographical location part is true. That has been proven that certain people, depending on how close they are to the equator versus how far away they are from the equator, has affected physical characteristics. You follow what I'm saying? But as far as the Bible teaching, which is why in earlier times and even in today's modern times, people try to retrospectively insert our concept of racism and race back into the Bible. That's why you got a lot of racist white supremacy groups saying that the curse that was put on Cain, the mark that was put on Cain, they say that was a curse of they say that was black skin. That's what
Hmm.
they'll say. The Bible never even calls it a curse. They say it's a curse, right? And then you got black supremacy groups.
Mm.
They'll say that Mark was white skin, right? And then you go to other places in the Bible where people try to make racist claims, and it doesn't even have anything to do with race as we understand it today.
For
You follow what I'm saying?
sure.
But the Bible itself does not give any clear indication of identifying a race by physical appearance. Maybe a tribe.
Oh. But they did say that Jesus had dark hair. His skin was like copper and his hair was like wool. But that does not indicate a different type of race. They never talked about what type of humans were there. Okay, I see what he's saying. So
But
basically, yeah, because like what they've never used that. Like you can't say the Cain was black, and like the curse was that he had black skin.
not a
I'm getting it.
race. That's a modern construct.
That's a modern
Hey,
construct for sure.
is it possible that
So
the
they only looked at each other as humans. It's insane.
history fanatic can edify a little bit?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Um,
Yeah. If you
Josh
mean
is
you, you do mean you.
100% correct.
You mean
Yeah,
you
yeah,
though, right?
me. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
me.
okay.
um,
Just want to make sure.
Josh is
Okay.
no. Josh is 100% correct. And when Gideon just asked what he did, the only reason I know this Gideon is because of my big bro, Judah, and others who, early in our walk, we started to study the history of civilization because we felt it was important to understand what the Bible doesn't comment on because it's written for a certain purpose. But when the Bible names Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, Medo Persia, Greece, Rome, when it names these nations, the Canaanites, what do we know about them outside of the biblical narrative? You know, these people, many of these people have their own history. They kept their own records. And so we started to do a little studying. And then, of course, there were some things we found out. So when God separated the children of Noah at the Tower of Babel, as Josh said, it was not phenotype that was the separation narrative. Phenotype is how you look, what your physical characteristics are, whether it's skin color or anything. No, it was they were separated in language groups. So you
Yes,
have
yes,
people
that's
of
exactly what they were separated from. So I have no idea what um I have no idea what race these people were. We're just gonna say they were humans, obviously, but they got separated from their language. They never said anything about them being separated through races. No, I had never heard that, but I did hear about that one with the Bible and them angels having sex with them, and that's how people got white skin. That's what I think that's what the Bible says. It could be a false accusation. It is just something I think I like heard it from like a while back. It's a
different
very faded
oh,
memory.
it was they were separated in language groups. So you have people of different body looks, who still went with each other simply because the language that God gave them at the separation of the tower, they could understand each other similarly. Now, as Josh also said, what you have happening is you have people who, in the modern narrative, remember a lot of the Bible dictionaries and things like that we read. Y'all do know all of this is work that has happened within the last 150 years. It can seem like this stuff been around forever. It hasn't. Dictionaries are a new thing. And so
For
when you go to the
sure.
Zondervan Bible and the and things of
The industrial age started around the 1850s. I understand.
that nature, you'll start to read some stuff. And honestly, the racism, as many of us know it today, is a construct that was created within the Western Hemisphere in order to create a social education plan. And through that engineering, they were able to get common citizens of a particular ethnic group to accept what the government was going to do to another group.
Hmm.
So it was the transatlantic slave trade and things of that nature that was used by the Dutch, the Portuguese, the Spanish, the French, and the British in order to get their citizens to accept that we're taking people from the continent of Africa and we're going to, by force, and something we've never seen done on this scale before in the history of human beings, we're going to do this, and we need you to accept it because the first advocates against
So basically, they're basically conquering through like subversion and like desire, and like they're basically telling you like we're an authoritarian figure, which is the government, and they're getting a group of people because to have power, you need to have power over something, which is the people, and so that's how you influence others. I'm guessing that's what he's saying. Should be.
and we need you to accept it because the first advocates against the selling of human beings and snatching them from their lands and bringing them to foreign lands as free labor were the people who were there already. So I'll give you two examples and I'll mute up. When the automobile was created, you had to be a very wealthy person to have a car. People were
Yes.
walking, were on
Yes. So
bicycles
basically, they create these powerful things to gain like power over you. Yes. Yes.
or on horse and carriage. And for the every now and again,
It's like telling somebody, "Hey, play me in this game," and they're a beginner, and you're like not a pro, but you've been playing definitely longer than them, and you tell them, "Hey, let's play this game." Like you make a whole bet. Like it's an unfair thing. You know what I'm saying? It's like trying to 1v1 somebody and making a bet against them in the game they've never played for, and you're playing that game like pretty much all the time.
vehicle that would come through a town or drive down a road, people knew that was the wealthy guy who had this new invention. After World War II, with the creation of the highway system here in the United States and all throughout Europe, you had the necessity of the vehicle created. Well, guess what happened once they start getting the average European and American citizen to invest in buying a car by qualifying for a loan? People started crashing them things, and the car accidents were brutal. People were flying out of cars through the windshields,
Mm,
and the
Mm.
windshields were originally made of glass.
mm.
So, in order to, you ain't going to be able to stop a car accident, but you could probably cut down on the damage that happens to a person if they fly through the windshield. They created a new form of glass by government decree called hexalite. So, if you take a spark plug and you hit a windshield with it or your side windows on your vehicle, they'll crack in thousands of small pieces.
Hmm.
That was by government decree to address a situation that existed. So a law was passed. But then it was something else. How do we stop people from flying out the vehicle? So government federal law was passed to instruct automakers to create a safety harness in a vehicle that if the vehicle hits something all of a sudden, a person won't fly out the vehicle. And then if you do happen to hit the windshield, let it break in a whole bunch of small pieces. Y'all do know that them two things that we take for granted when we ride in vehicles every day was a necessity of problems that existed in the United States
Yes.
after slaves were brought to Port Comfort. Um, about 29 slaves or so. All of a sudden, slaves start to come in mass to the United States. They were already being taken to the Caribbean and to the French territories of modern day Florida and Louisiana. In order to get the common poor white citizen of the 13 colonies to accept that now we're going to start to bring in free labor from the from the west coast of Africa, they passed laws that made it illegal for whites and blacks to legally enter into a marriage, and for a black man to own any land or have a right to vote, and for white men who might be in indentured servitude and white women, you could buy your freedom. This was the beginning of laws that were passed because when blacks came here, and many of them escaped from their plantation owners, do y'all know one thing that American history has in it? That many
But
poor whites and poor blacks would come together because outside of your color narrative, your struggle and position in society was the same. So they formed a lot of communities and there was a lot of intermingling. And in order to cut that down, laws were passed. That happened here, that happened in Africa, and it happened in India, where even a caste system was created by the British. And light skinned indigenous people of India were started to be accepted more by the British overlords. And the darker Indians, indigenous Indians, were the untouchable. They were at the bottom of the class system. So these things are the inventions of modern day forms of racism that we've inherited, and they've taken on many other forms. But yeah, it
so
was the slave
so
trade.
basically, from what I think, he's saying that is that basically what people do is they'll fuck something up and then bring in a solution that is a cover up for their fuck ups. Like, for example, it's kind of like how fluoride is. The only reason why we need fluoride for our teeth is because the genetically modified food is just flat out bad for us. So, what is a solution to that? Is fluoride. Now, can fluoride be vouched for? Yes and no. Fluoride is just a solution for the extra problems we are about to have in the future. So, fluoride is technically not a very crazy benefit of mankind. It's not a crazy thing because it's a solution to your fuck up. It's like me messing up this room and then cleaning it back up. You didn't do anything. It's like it's like dropping down from level 475 and then getting back to level 475. You know what I'm saying? Like you didn't do anything. You just made it seem like you're giving them solutions. I think that's what he's trying to say. I could be dead wrong, bro.
The class system. So these things are the inventions of modern day forms of racism that we've inherited, and they've taken on many other forms. But yeah, it was the slave trade of the late 15th and 16th centuries that this new way we deal with stuff uh, happened.
Praise God, big bro. And just like he just said, and like what I said, it's a modern construct.
Mm.
And people try to read this modern ideology of slavery. Black and white people do it. They try to read that back into the Bible. And it's not there. It's just simply not there.
Mm.
And because of this, a lot of people on both sides were able to justify a lot of the heinous and horrible things they said about another race or did to another race. They use that to try to justify this stuff. And it still goes on today. It still goes on to this very day. And you know what's so crazy too? A lot of these so-called Christian religions that had their conception in like the early 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, they were very racist toward black people. They were. That's, I mean, I don't play the race card. Y'all know I don't do this on here, but when I do play the race card, it's gonna always be that high joker. It's gonna win. That's what I mean when I say that. It's gonna always be the high joker. And the truth of the matter is, a lot of black people, I'm just talking to the black people, they don't even know that a denomination they are part of did not even let them be a part of it at one time in history. Because it was started by white racist Christians. So that's another whole ball game altogether. You know, Black History Month over with, so I ain't gonna go too deep into that. But I just wanted to let y'all know that's that's just another reason for, at least as a black person, to not mess with some of these denominations because most of them got racist inceptions.
Hmm.
And now you're happy. Oh, they're finally letting me in their little club. Man, get out of here.
Man, Jadion has really changed, and I love it. I love it. Anyways, that's gonna do for that video.